just pretend like it's the first time. Sometimes taking a leap forward means...
As we know, Arcane as a whole from start to finish has been phenomenal. There are so many things to talk about, from each individual character arcs throughout each season to the endless events that happen between point A and point B. However, there was one episode that stuck out to me the most. One amazingly written episode that instills a feeling of dread and hope, all at the same time dedicated to what could have been. Arcane Season 2, Episode 7, titled Pretend Like It's the First Time, hit me like a ton of bricks, and I want to explain why this episode was so strong. First up though, if you enjoyed the video, why not like and subscribe? Every bit helps a small YouTuber like me. I want to talk about Ekko as a whole since that's who this episode revolves around, but we might save that for a different video. When we last left off of Ekko's story, he was sucked into the Hex Tech with Heimmerdinger and Jayce. Upon awakening, Ekko comes to realize that he's living a different life, an ideal life where Piltover and Zaun are a united front, a world where both Benzo and Vander are still alive, and most importantly, where Jinx is still Powder. We watch as Ekko struggles to come to terms with these changes, questioning everything that he encounters. That first hug that Ekko gave Benzo was devastating and set the table for the heartbreak that is to come within this episode. This life is everything that Ekko could have wanted. Everything is as it should have been besides one key detail. Where this journey starting in Season 1 began was in fact where Vi had died, leading to this decidedly peaceful life. Hextech was never created. Vander and Silco were able to forgive each other and come together. The loss of life towards peace, at least from what we could see, was minimal, all with the exception of Vi. I'm not going to harp too much on that point, as that wasn't the drive for Ekko's character to return to his normal life. No, that was due to his morality. He had in fact left people behind in his world that needed him, and we can absolutely say that without Ekko's return to his world, this story would have ended differently. Nothing more can be said about that lesson other than Powder's own words. Sometimes taking a leap forward means
leaving a few things behind.
There's a lot to this episode that just makes the writing on point. With the focus being based around what could have been, it brings up a lot of questions in regards to the story. It's honestly a perfect start to the final 3 episodes, and while I loved Arcane all the way through and can agree with some of the issues that some people have addressed, this was the best episode out of the final 3. It brings back the type of writing we saw in Season 1 when it didn't feel like things were being rushed to a conclusion. This story would have only benefited from an additional season, but I still personally love what we were given. One of the smaller topics addressed in this episode, which wasn't addressed as much, was Vi's death, something that I really enjoyed the implication of. The fact that everyone that was important to Vi is still alive and living a good life, mixed with Piltover and Zaun working together, it almost comes off as if Powder was never a Jinx. That nothing that happened was actually her fault. That, however, breaks down into cause and effect. While everything kicked off because of the job they all took in the beginning of Season 1, it was Vi's ultimate need to protect her family that escalated the issue, which led to the events of the main timeline. This isn't to say that it was only Vi's fault. It was her escalation that allowed for Powder to end up on her eventual path. It's just an interesting idea to follow, as the show has spent so much time pointing out the bad that Jinx has done. It really stands to highlight that circumstances are what makes a character and how one detail can change everything. That does lead us into the main chunk of the episode, which revolves around Ekko and Powder. This episode really showcases Ekko's selflessness, which I mentioned earlier, as he was given the perfect life here. Everything that he ever wanted, which he stated with this line.
I used to dream the Undercity could be like this, but somewhere I got consumed by all the ways it wasn't. I gave up on it. Gave up on you.
Only to give that up for his responsibilities in his world, which, if he decided to settle down here, he would have never been there to save everyone. It hits so much harder when you realize that he did not get a good ending. Yes, he saved everyone, but he wasn't recognized for it. Jinx is assumed to be dead, and everyone he cares about is still gone. Watching the final episode really just made me constantly think back to this episode and what could have been, as I fill with despair knowing that if it wasn't for Ekko, this world would have ended the same as in the dimension that Jayce was sent to. That brings us to the other topic at hand though. Jayce. This episode constantly cut back and forth between Jayce and Ekko, a vastly different experience between the two of them. The hard cuts back and forth really accentuate that fact. Cutting from Powder and Ekko dancing to Jayce suffering in a world alone at first comes off as, wow, Jayce really got the crap into this stick. But when you go back and rewatch it, you realize that the entire Jayce section, while being a huge part for him that's revealed in the final episode, is also there to highlight why it's important for Ekko to go back. If he stays in this better life, that is the world he would leave behind. As a whole, this episode is just phenomenal and a great way to use the time travel and multiverse mechanic. This is saying something in a day and age where it feels like we are all too burnt out from multiverses. It remains as the highlight for me for season 2 of Arcane, and I don't think that will change on any amount of rewatches. There are so many other details covered in this episode that I just didn't want to spoil everything, instead focusing on the more important details. For example, Heimerdinger's role in this episode, or the actual in-depth explanation of what happened to Jayce. There was just so much that made this episode special, and if you agree or disagree, why not let me know in the comments why or what episode was your favorite. As a send-off, if you like manga, I've started a podcast with a few other guys where we talk about 9 different manga each week. The channel is called Panel Focus, so why not check us out on YouTube. On that note, if you enjoyed the video, why not like and subscribe? Otherwise, peace.